3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Standard Definition, the Retro Nostalgia Podcast here on the Boss Rush Network. I am one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me for this round of Indiana Jones is none other than the joy of the XP cast and my favorite co-host on the Citadel. His name is Stoy Jovic.
Clearly, I've gone up in your hierarchy that I am now the first introduced person in this. So I do appreciate that. That humbles me very greatly. Thank you, Corey.
You're always the first person I introduce when we're on a podcast together.
Well, when we're on Arsenal X, it's only me, so I would hope I'd be the first to introduce.
You're still the first?
Unless you've gone like, welcome everybody, this is Arsenal X, blah blah whatever. I'm here with me. Can you imagine starting a podcast like that? I'm here with me, and then to my right is some other guy.
I seem to remember a podcast like that with this guy that's with us. His name, the man, the myth, the legend, Infinite Rewind himself, Matthew Kiel.
Oh, that's me. Sala. I said no camels. That's 5 camels. Can't you count?
Compensation for my brother-in-law's car.
Yes. Let the quote fest begin.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
I wrote it in my diary so I wouldn't have to remember.
Stop. You're going the wrong way. We must get to Berlin.
Brody's this way.
We must go to Berlin.
I can't do a Connery accent to save my soul.
It's okay. Rest in peace, Sean Connery.
R.I.P. that man.
Wait, did he die?
Yes, like a year and a half
this
ago.
is awkward.
No
This is
shit.
awkward.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, admittedly,
I'm
he did
sorry.
drop off the face of the earth.
You know how many people I've seen die in front of me? I'm sorry, I forgot a celebrity died. My bad.
It's fair.
I don't know whether he's kidding or not. Is he
I'm
kidding?
not.
Does Matthew kill people?
He
I don't know.
he died on October 31st, 2020.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
I just want to ease my conscience. You don't go around killing people, right?
No, I'm an X-ray tech at a trauma center, and it's a pandemic, so I've seen a lot of people die from COVID. Shit ain't fake, y'all.
Yeah.
He passed away at 90 from pneumonia.
Yeah, he was. He dropped off the face of the earth for quite a while, and then, I think just kind of was really sick.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I do know one of the things that is just pretty deathly for the elderly is pneumonia, because eventually your lungs just can't keep the water out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
is that what they call the winter? The winter? No, that's the heart attack. What do they call like end state like pneumonia? That they call it something.
Pneumonia.
Yeah, I think it's just
I'm gonna go back.
pneumonia. I mean, again, that there might be a jargon name for it between doctors, but a lot of time it's just pneumonia.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we're not here to talk about pneumonia. We're here to talk about Indiana Jones in the
You're
Last
the one that brought
Crusade.
it up.
I
You're the
am.
one that
You're
brought
right.
it up.
I'm sorry. God.
Sorry.
This is Standard Definition, the Retro Nostalgia Podcast here on the Boss Rush Network, where each and every Sunday we come together with our friends from around the internet to talk about games, movies, shows, and other topics that make us nostalgic. You can support us. Wow. You can support us and get the show 2 weeks early by heading over to our Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushNetwork, and subscribe on free feeds. Remember, you get the show 2 weeks early for just $1. $1. 4 quarters, 10 dimes, 20 nickels, and 100 pennies. And like, what, 1 1/4 of those Canadian fake monies up north? I don't know what it's worth anymore.
Do it again, you Greek.
If you listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. You can catch all of our content on YouTube and on bossrush.net. Remember to get your Indiana Jones logo shirt on our store for Standard Def. It's exciting. It's exciting. We don't have a fedora or a whip, though. Sorry, guys. That'd be cool, though. Be cool.
I still have my fedora. I got it at the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland when I was 14 years old.
Why didn't you
It's
wear
at my parents'
it?
house. It's at my parents' house.
Why didn't you wear it?
This is at my parents' house.
Well, go there and get it.
I can't go now.
I mean, we could
I
pause.
didn't think about it until just now.
Don't worry. We have one more of these to do, Stoy. You can wear it for that one.
Okay, I'll try. I'll try to remember.
I've always wanted to look good in a fedora. According to my wife, I just don't.
Not a lot of people look good in a fedora.
No.
And also, fedoras have been ruined by a lot of assholes over the years.
Yeah, actually, I think it's the hipsters that ruined it.
Well, no, it's not. There's a lot of big tech assholes that wear fedoras. Like, it's a whole thing. We don't need to go into it.
It's a whole thing.
It's just easier to blame the hipsters, at least in my age, our age.
So, guys, speaking of fedoras and people that can pull it off, Indiana Jones, am I right? The intrepid explorer Indiana Jones sets out to rescue his father, a medievalist who has vanished while searching for the Holy Grail. Following clues in the old man's notebook, Indy arrives in Venice, where he enlists the help of a beautiful academic, but they are not the only ones who are on the trail, and some sinister old enemies soon come out of the woodwork. There's your synopsis, guys. I don't think that synopsis encompasses...
I hate these guys.
I don't think this encompasses the entire movie.
No, I was gonna say
it's not really supposed to.
I know, but yeah, you just you look up the synopsises of movies, synopses,
yeah.
And it's just like, man, it's like when you go on Twitter and people do that thread of like, describe your favorite game or movie and the worst
wrong
way
answers
possible.
only.
Yeah. God. Anyways, this movie was
It's good to see MySpace quizzes are still alive even in this new age of social media.
Are they?
Yeah.
I mean,
like
MySpace
people...
is still alive, isn't it?
Yeah,
no,
it's
I
like
think
a
it's
music
officially
thing.
dead. No, it's dead.
No, it's not.
Could have sworn it was dead.
Gosh, if I go to MySpace and get a virus, I'm gonna cry.
Same.
Nope, it's a music thing.
Wow, it really is. Holy crap.
Smashing Pumpkins is on the front page.
Announce 11-date U.S. tour. Oh, good for them.
Wow.
Ugh.
Britney Spears signs a $15 million book deal for a memoir. That's what you get on MySpace these days, guys.
Yeah, it's more like it looks like it's
that
more
was
like
on
a
major
news
news outlets
station.
as well earlier. I think that was today or yesterday. But
Are you saying you don't go to MySpace for all your news?
no,
Stoy does.
Yeah.
Stoy looks like a MySpace.
That's the reason I asked about it, because I knew one of you would go, and that way I don't have to. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that was a trap. I trapped you. Corey.
You did. What's your MySpace handles, Stoy? Cycle soccer guy?
I don't remember what my handle was at the time. Man, it's been so long.
I don't really remember what mine was either.
I think my display name at one point on MySpace was Now with Spectacular Action Kung Fu Grip. Why I don't know.
That didn't age well.
It did not. It did not. But then again, like I've not actually logged into MySpace in a decade plus.
It's probably been longer than that for me.
Probably. Like I think I remember. No, it's been since right before I started X-ray school, so that would have been 14 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was directed by Steven Spielberg. It was released on May 24th, 1989. I didn't realize it was so long after Temple of Doom. It was over 5 years. Had a budget of $48 million, which was over double of what Temple of Doom was, and made $474.2 million at the box office, about $120 million more than Temple of Doom. Overall thoughts on Temple of Doom. I'm pretty sure, based on conversations we've all had previously, we're all pretty high on Last Crusade. Sorry, I meant Last Crusade, not Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Last Crusade.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Overall thoughts, Stoy. We're going your way first.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, it was. I'm still actually trying to see if I can log into my old MySpace account. Suppose I should probably focus on. I typed in the Google search bar, "Can you log into your old MySpace account?" And apparently you can. You just have to remember the email that you used.
Yeah, I don't remember the email I used.
I don't even think my email is even in existence anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
Skaterboy69@hotmail.com. Maybe that's what it was.
Is it boy with an I?
I just told it to you. Last Crusade was, I still hold that Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best one, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Last Crusade is like a very, very, very close second. I mean, it literally captured all the magic and all the, kind of discovery that Raiders of the Lost Ark had, where it was like, it even started from the beginning, where like, you got Indiana Jones teaching, and then all of a sudden, Marcus comes in and he's like, "Hey, I got a job for you," and then all of a sudden the job becomes a lot bigger than what it was, or what he thought it would be. But honestly, just the grand sense of adventure and fighting a mortal enemy in kind of like a chase, like it's like a race against time to get to the goal. That's what I love about adventure movies like that, because it's literally a race, and that's why I really liked Last Crusade and Raiders of the Lost Ark, whereas, Temple of Doom was more like, "Hey, let's get out of here," whereas Last Crusade was like, "Let's race to the finish."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Well, I mean, like Stoy said, I think if you wanted to step outside of taste and preference, Raiders of the Lost Ark is definitely the best pound for pound Indiana Jones movie. But Last Crusade will never not be my favorite at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this, I actually watched this twice since our last recording, and once was with Reba, and the other was just streaming on the way to and from work and on my lunch and things like that. And this movie is just fun. Instead of it being, kind of masculine machismo adventure like Lost Ark and, for the most part, Temple of Doom, this is more of two very smart men finding ways to undercut each other at every turn, and also, Indiana Jones gets to do the "I'm gonna fight Nazis" thing. And I just want to say, Connery in this movie is wonderful, because he's definitely someone who played James Bond forgetting that he ever saw a gun in his life and is completely in awe of the shit that his son does. And it's wonderful. I love it so much.
Or like the machine gun scene when he's in the back of the plane shooting the machine gun, and he like straight up lies. He's like, "Sorry, son, they got us."
I
mean, when they first meet and you see Indiana Jones just pull the gun, shoot the Nazis, and he's just like, "Look what you did!" It's so good. It's so good. But before I get to gushing, Corey, talk to me about your thoughts.
So it's weird because like when I watch these movies, like I usually like have them on the background and I never really like pay attention to them, right? Except for like really this one is the one I pay the most attention to. And I always thought that this was like the best one. Like I just, it's undoubtedly my favorite of the original trilogy, right? It's just everything I love about Indiana Jones is stuffed in this movie. But after like rewatching them and actually really like paying attention for the first time in probably a decade to these movies, like Raiders, aside from a few like special effects things, and obviously that you have to look past that because it's the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. But like aside from that, like that movie is definitely like hands down the best one, with Marion and just all the things that happen in that movie. But it's still my favorite. I will still go to my grave saying that this is my favorite, right? This is Sean Connery, and like Harrison Ford and Sean Connery's chemistry in this movie is like unmatched.
It's ridiculous.
It's unmatched.
It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
And
perfect father-son duo.
Yeah, and every scene Sean Connery's in, he steals the show. Like he's just he just steals the show, you know, whether
he's Sean fucking Connery.
I know, but it's just like
like in every scene he's just like, I'm Sean fucking Connery.
I know.
Except I've never seen a gun before.
Well, so spoilers. We're like last night I recorded our MCU rewatch with Mark and Laron, and we watched Thor. Was the movie that we're on at the time of this recording, and like they get some big names in there, right? Like Anthony Hopkins is in there and Natalie Portman, and like sometimes like when you get big names in a movie to play like I don't want to say sidekick characters, but you know, sidekick characters, they kind of
supporting
one-offs
characters.
and
they kind of like phone it in, which in Thor definitely felt phoned in for me at least. But like Sean Connery he's clearly like the sidekick in this movie, but he's awesome. Like he's awesome. And like I love it so much. It was so fun to watch him. And like the motorcycle scene where they're being chased, right? Like, and he like almost falls out a couple times, and he's like doesn't understand how his son knows how to do all this, or like when they're on the blimp, right? Like that scene's funny. Or when they
do you know how to fly a plane?
Yeah.
Or like when he's running on the beach.
Fly? Yes.
He's running on the beach and he uses the umbrella to like shoo the birds up and takes out the planes, right? With the birds. Like,
yeah.
And
Brilliant.
quotes fucking Charlemagne.
Let my armies be the rocks and the trees.
Yeah.
And the
Birds in the sky.
This is like this movie is always going to undoubtedly be my favorite. Now, watching this and really kind of paying attention to it, like there's some issues I have with this movie that I didn't really have before, right? Like making Marcus Brody kind of an idiot in this movie, where like in Raiders they kind of set him up, he wasn't really an idiot, you know? Like I don't know if that's really a big problem, but it's just like something I noticed that kind of felt inconsistent with Raiders.
I'll agree with you. That definitely was a change. He was kind of a bumbling idiot, where he was like the butt of jokes.
Yeah,
more so in this one.
Oh, I've seen Marcus get lost in his own museum.
Well, but see, also, now I'm not going to say that this was planned or anything, but there's definitely a difference between being in an environment you know and being in an environment you know about, but aren't necessarily wholly familiar with. And plus, the way Denholm Elliott acts Marcus Brody, like that is definitely, you know, that is definitely a white English academic type going to Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm not a white English academic type, and I've never been to Africa, but for some reason in my head, the way that happens, where he's just like, does anybody speak English? Like,
yeah,
like yes, like that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we honestly didn't get to see much of him even in Raiders. Like we saw him in the beginning, and the whole middle he was gone, and then at the end, you know, that was it. So we got to see Marcus more outside of his comfort zone. So, and you know, we got to see how he would do in a fight, or how he would do, like, you know, getting captured by Nazis, for crying out loud. And
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, that's fair. It almost feels like there needs to be like a Marcus movie, like where he's like kind of the focal point of an Indiana Jones movie at some point, right? Where like maybe they have to go save him or something. Maybe we'll get that. Who knows? Disney will do anything.
Indiana Jones: The Legend of Marcus Brody.
That'd be awesome. No, it's a
honestly,
Disney.
I'll watch it.
Disney Plus show.
I'll watch the hell out of that.
Disney Plus show. It's just called Brody.
Yeah.
Or Marcus. But at the end of the day, it's still far and away my favorite. Even though after really rewatching these movies, it's definitely not the best movie. So,
yeah.
So before we get into talking about the characters and stuff, and kind of going over what we normally do on this show, let's talk about other notable movies from 1989 when this came out. Matt, I know you're going to add to this list, and I know I'm already going to think you're making stuff up, but it's okay.
That's cool.
Batman, Tim Burton's Batman, starring Michael Keaton, came out this year.
One of the best ones.
Yep.
Major League. I like that movie quite a bit.
That was a good one.
It's a very good one.
Every time we win, we peel a sticker.
I say, fuck you, Joe Boo.
Oh, God. Uncle Buck, starring John Candy and Dan Aykroyd.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Lean on Me, which I hear is an important film of 1989.
Yes, I watched this a lot, actually, in middle school. This was the one with where what's his name was the principal, right?
You're asking the wrong person.
In this movie?
Morgan Freeman, yeah, where he was he was the principal in the kind of like a inner city school, and he turned it around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was a really good one. I watched that a lot when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Dead Poets Society, another great movie.
Made Ethan Hawke a heartthrob.
And Robin Williams, iconic portrayal of the teacher. Say Anything, Field of Dreams, Weekend at Bernie's, another iconic comedy that I enjoy. Roadhouse.
So I just want to say before you move on, Field of Dreams is for me what Christmas Story is for you, Corey.
What do you mean? You just hate it?
Because everyone goes, is Iowa heaven? I go, no, it's Iowa.
No, it's definitely not Iowa. And can I also say that when I saw Weekend at Bernie's the first time when I was a kid, I didn't understand why that woman was so happy when she walked out of Bernie's bedroom. And then all of a sudden I saw it, I think when I was like a few years older and understanding of what she did. I was like, wow, you just had sex with a dead guy. Wow.
Wow. Where were we? Roadhouse.
The 80s were wild.
Yeah,
yes,
the 80s were the 80s. Roadhouse, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Turner and Hooch. Now, Matt, I know you want to add to this list.
Yes. Sit back and relax, because one of my favorite Jim Jarmusch movies came out in 1989. It's called Mystery Train. Jane Campion's Sweetie came out. Little known movie we all might like called Back to the Future 2 came out.
Bro, you missed that one.
I've never seen it, so I can't tell you.
Corey, I know you're a big Disney person, and so I don't know where Studio Ghibli falls in your Disney dar.
I've never seen a Studio Ghibli movie.
Oh, well, you should watch Kiki's Delivery Service, which also came out in 1989. It's wonderful. You'll love it. Show it to your daughter. The Little Mermaid came out in 1989. One of the funniest movies that I can think of where I know like most of the lines to it came out in 1989. It's called UHF. Another important Lean on Me and this are probably very important. Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee came out in 1989. The Wizard.
Whew.
A movie all us gamers tend to love. A Bruce Willis, Kirstie Alley, and John Travolta jam called Look Who's Talking came out in 1989. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You missed that one. Harlem Nights, which is wonderful. Lethal Weapon 2, starring racist-ass Melly Gibson. When Harry Met Sally, which is a wonderful rom-com. The Abyss, which I believe is a Ron Howard jam. I'm the only one that'll care about this one, but Blind Swordsman Zatoichi had another installment in his long-running movie franchise come out. All Dogs Go to Heaven, which is a really great animated classic. Joe Dante's The Burbs, which I will say, if neither of you have seen it, you should. And one of my favorite Pedro Almodovar movies came out, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down.
Those are some bangers.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen Back to the Future 2, Corey, come on.
I haven't seen Back to the Future 1.
Well, I'm proposing it right now. Next standard definition, all the Back to the Future movies.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm in on that one.
it's on the list. Well, I guess we have our next planned trilogy.
I'm in.
So notable video games out that year also. The Game Boy. Everybody had a Game Boy.
The most notable of video games.
It's true. It is.
Which I did not have.
I still have mine. It doesn't work, but I still have mine. It turns on, but the screen is all, old.
It's all green.
Super Mario Land, Castlevania 3, Final Fight, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one on NES, which is not very good. It's hard as ball sacks.
Yeah,
Strider,
you either love it or hate it.
Yeah. I don't hate it, but I haven't played it in like probably 30 years, so Double Dragon.
It's not good. Donatello was clearly the best one because he had the biggest range out of all of them, and Raphael was the worst one because he didn't have a very long attack. I just remember, man, I remember that game way too well.
And it didn't, like, when Raphael hit, it didn't go out. It just he kind of like flipped it in. Like,
so like enemies got to be really close to you.
Yeah. So I always picked Raphael first because I always knew that he was probably going to die first.
Yeah.
And the first levels were always the easiest. So, Strider, Double Dragon 2, Sim City. Did not know that came out in 1989. Golden Axe and River City Ransom. So those were the notable video games of 1989.
Also some bangers.
Matt, I know.
Did Tetris for the Game Boy come out in 1989 too?
It did, but it came out on NES in 1987. That's why I didn't add it. But Tetris for the Game Boy, probably the most important piece of software.
Yeah.
Pre-2000.
Yeah. You right. So
Matt,
normally,
I know you wanted to talk about music.
Normally, when we talk about this, I throw in some music because that's just who I am as a person. And this time I did some preparing beforehand for once. So 1989 was a banger year for music, y'all. Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys came out in 1989, which is one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. Also one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul, as well as People's Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm by A Tribe Called Quest.
I've heard of all of those bands.
No, you haven't. Bleach,
Groups?
The debut by Nirvana came out. The Pixies' masterpiece Doolittle came out. Like a Prayer by Madonna came out. The Real Thing by Faith No More came out. Pretty Hate Machine by Nine Inch Nails came out. The self-titled debut Masterpiece by the Stone Roses came out. Bonnie Raitt's The Nick of Time came out. The Sensual World by Kate Bush also released in 1989. Cosmic Thing by the B-52s. On Fire by Galaxy 500, Automatic by the Jesus and Mary Chain, Oranges and Lemons by XTC, and I'm going to say this is the album by The Cure I think is probably the most overrated IMO. Disintegration came out in 1989. Cure fans, if you're mad, I'm sorry. I just think Pornography is better.
They're all mad at you, Matt. I can hear them.
Fair.
I hear them all.
Fair.
It's fair.
But I feel like that's a decent swath of music that came out.
And it's all music that came out in 1989.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy the Beastie Boys. I will say that. I mean, I'm not the music guy, okay?
Looking at this retrospectively, I think Queen Latifah's debut album came out in 1989 as well. And if you've not heard that, All Hail the Queen is wonderful. So,
all right, let's get into the meat of this movie. Let's talk about the characters and some of this fun things that they did in this movie. Obviously, Harrison Ford reprises his role as Indiana Jones. I don't know if we can say much more about him. Like, he's the role. He is Indiana Jones, right? I mean, I'm going to be sad when they recast him, but also, like, he's 900 years old at this point, and they're probably going to need to if they want to do Indiana Jones again. at some point. But yeah, he's great in this movie. I think this is probably his best performance as the character, especially like on the boat where he's talking to Kazim, right? Where he's basically gonna shove his face into the rudder of that boat as it's chopping up the back end of his boat.
Yeah,
that's a good scene.
Cause, or some say Cosm.
Yeah, so that's a good scene. Or like when he's battling the tank on the horse or whatever, and like he like falls off the cliff or whatever, and they're all looking over, and like they're all mourning his death, and he just walks up behind them.
Yeah.
Such a good scene.
Yeah, where he's just like dumbfounded. He's just looking at him looking at the wreckage with them, and he's just like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just love that Sean Connery is like, all I needed was 5 minutes, and I could have just talked to him. And then when he's there, gotta get going.
Yeah. Well, it kind of brings back to one of the kind of more important scenes of that movie. It was when they were on the blimp going, and they, never had a good relationship all throughout their life. We got to see that in the beginning with, when he was young, and then how it was just all about business, all about education, all about learning, never about being a father to Indiana Jones. Yeah. And then when they actually had time to really sit down and talk, they couldn't. There was like 30 years or 40 years that passed where like they couldn't really just sit down and have a conversation. It was just so awkward. And even like, Sean Connery was just like blew it off. Like, we don't do that. We're not that kind of father-son thing. Like, it was a really good scene that I didn't appreciate until I got older. And then I realized how that's pretty much how my dad and I are. So it's like, oh, wow, that's pretty it's such a minor note in the movie, but a very important one when you think about how tumultuous their relationship is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you there, Stoy. Like, I mean, it's not like my dad and I have a terrible relationship. It's actually a really good relationship, but like we don't talk like deeply about anything, I mean, the most we talk about is like, oh, you watch the Browns lose. Yeah. I was a squeaker. Yeah, it was all right. Maybe next week. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just that kind of a relationship. It's not like we talk about like in high school we didn't talk about like dating or girls or whatever, but it's not that I don't regret my relationship with my dad. I just that's just not the relationship that we have. What well did I open
up here? Jeez.
Well, I mean, the reason we didn't start this till later in January was because my dad passed in late December. He passed on Christmas Eve. And this scene hit me in a lot of ways because I started to think about what I actually talked to my dad about, and very much in the way Sean Connery said, like, I let you be your own person. I talk and do all that, which I think in the movie is supposed to kind of play as semi bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that's how my dad really was. Like, he left the talk about, girls and growing up and things like that kind of to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly or unfairly, that's like a different conversation. But I did, like, since he's passed, I have just sort of thought about the things that I do remember that he left me. And like, as I was getting ready to start doing, the podcast that I normally do, as well as this, like, I could hear him saying, just like, you agreed to do stuff, it's a sign of integrity to, like, keep up your agreements. And I also know that, like, he said he would say, like, if you think this is too much, like, step back at least be honest and take your and stand up and say like, hey, this is on me. This isn't about anything else. So that scene, I do get that scene. I may not be able to articulate it in the best at this particular point, but I did kind of almost tear up. And like when Reba was next to me and she's like, "You all right?" And like I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be good. If I need to talk, I'll let you know." You know, and yeah, but I do miss my dad. I will say that. He liked this movie too. In fact, I think the first time I saw it was just he and I. I think he took me to the theater to see this.
Yeah, I think we watched it on VHS because we got like the VHS trilogy or whatever, and like this.
Oh yeah.
You know, Lucasfilm, like right before they released the Star Wars special editions on VHS, they released this in a VHS collection, and that was the first time I think we watched this. And like I had at that time I didn't know what the order of the movies were, and I think this was the first one I watched, to be honest. And then I watched the other.
Well, the nice thing about all of these is that none of them really are kind of like follow a timeline. Like you can watch them all individually and not feel like you're lost.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the good thing about them too, is like you can just kind of, if you don't want to watch Temple of Doom, you don't got to watch Temple of Doom. You can go watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull first if you really want to. Yeah. Totally watchable movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Stoy just looked down in disappointment.
No, I was like, sure. No, it is. I give it a bad rap.
Everybody does.
You're not the only one, to be honest.
Yeah.
No disrespect, Stoy. You ain't special here.
Yeah. I know.
I remember when the complete trilogy or the complete adventures came out, the box set. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's nice they gave you a coaster with your original trilogy box set." And they're obviously talking about the, you know. So.
Yeah, and guess what? You paid them for it, so.
Yeah.
Joke's on you.
Sean Connery.
They didn't give you a coaster. You paid for it. So. Did.
Sean Connery plays Henry Jones Sr. very capably in this movie.
Fuck, he does.
God, he's the best part of this entire movie.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man, from like the scene where he's like, where they go into the castle, right? By the way, what a great scene that is, by the way, where they walk in and he's like, he puts on her beret or whatever and she puts on his hat and like they just kind of like switch clothes or whatever and he's like,
fucking terrible, but I love it. It's so bad.
This is a castle, isn't it?
We're here to view the tapestries.
We have many tapestries.
You are a Scottish lord. I am Mickey Mouse.
How dare he?
Oh, it's such a good scene.
When you think about it, that was a Nazi stronghold. There was Nazi military operations there. And the fact that you had one old butler guarding the gate, I mean, come on, Nazis, get your shit together.
I mean,
they wonder why they lost the war.
Yeah, you wonder why you lost the war.
To be fair, Stoy, I feel like there are several Hitman levels across that series where first time you walk in, it's just like house staff. There's no real security. Somehow everybody has guns.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man. So yeah, I love Sean Connery in this role. Like don't get me wrong, he was great as Bond, but like this is like, oh yeah, this is top pinnacle Sean Connery in this role.
Well, because he does so many ranges. He's hilarious, but he can be deathly serious, and he can kind of swap from one to the other, and it's like he makes it so believable. Like, yeah, he could be that bumbling doofus that Dad, 11 o'clock, and he pulls out his watch. What happens at 11 o'clock? He could be that, but then also have like a serious conversation with his son.
I forgot
on a blimp.
Scene.
Yeah. So
12, 11, 10, 11 o'clock. God,
are we hit?
Sorry, son, they got us.
Yeah,
God.
but to
God,
that,
this movie's so good.
but to your point, Stoy, like he could be stupid and silly and whatever, but then at the end where he like reaches down, right when they drop the Grail and what's her face? Elsa fell already, and then Indiana tries to grab it, and like it's the first time that he doesn't call him Junior. He's like, Indiana, leave it, let it go, or whatever. And he reaches him. Like that's like a good father scene, right? That it's such a good hard hitting moment, and like that just right there is like that's the range he has in this movie. It's so great, so great. And then he turns back around. We named the dog Indiana.
Yeah.
You named yourself after the
dog.
dog.
Of that dog.
Oh man, it's great. Anybody have anything else they want to say about Sean Connery in this movie? No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny to think like I don't know. You think of what Sean Connery has done post Bond, and I think like the range between Bond and Last Crusade includes The Untouchables and the cult classic Zardoz, which I don't expect either of you to have heard of, especially you, Corey. Maybe Stoy has.
I think you just made that word up.
I have.
Look up Zardoz, and if you ever want to watch it for a standard definition, please let me come, because it is wild.
Man. Don't forget League of Extraordinary Gentlemen after this.
That was after the Last Crusade.
I'm kind of disappointed that we haven't talked about his magnum opus, The Rock.
That's after the Last Crusade. So.
Yeah.
Or the Hunt for Red October.
Also after Last Crusade.
Red October standing by.
We're still kind of talking. We like to celebrate everything he does, I guess.
Sure. Connery ruled.
We'll have to do Connery Bond movies.
I mean, do all of them. They're all like watchable in their own way.
I know, but I mean, I know.
Her Majesty's Secret Service is still the best one. I'm seeing that right now. And that's the Lazenby one, which everyone seems to hate for some reason, because they're wrong. But
it's fine. They're allowed to be wrong.
True.
Right?
True.
I mean, they're allowed to be wrong. Julian Glover as Walter Donovan. He's probably the biggest bad of this movie, right? Besides the Nazis. He's the
opportunist.
Yeah. That twist, man.
Mm-hmm.
Remember at the beginning, he's like, don't trust anyone? Oh, man. Then the chair, like
Didn't
he gets up.
tell you not to trust anybody, Dr. Jones?
He gets up and when he gets up from the chair and you see that it's him, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I forgot that was like a big reveal. Like I just always know that he's a villain, but then I paid attention and he's in the chair and then he stands up. He's like, whoa, the chair was backwards. You couldn't see he was sitting there. And then it was him. Whoa. That's all I got.
Fair.
And then like, obviously the scene with the Grail, right? Where he was like, that's the cup of a king or whatever. And it's like this one that's all super bejeweled. And then you see him like melt away and turn to sand.
Now, I forgot to look this up.
He chose poorly.
I forgot to look this up before coming here, but I'm pretty sure Donovan drinks the cup that looks the most like the Holy Grail from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's funny.
It is funny. Because we all know Monty Python and the Holy Grail is what you look for Grail lore.
Well, yeah, it's the most accurate.
I mean, you don't?
I mean, only if I want to know what your favorite color is.
or the airspeed velocity of an inladen swallow.
Or the knights who say, D. D.
It's knee.
Knee.
Yeah, there you go.
No, they are no longer the knights who say knee. They are the knights who say ippy became. Whoops, I know.
Or the knights who formerly say knee.
Yeah.
Or we demand another shrubbery. I'm putting a little distance apart so we can make a little path and look nice.
Last Crusade. Let's go. Come on, folks.
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Look
He
at
drank the
look at
cup
Stoy.
that looks
Stoy's
the most
got-
like the Monty Python Holy Grail, and died.
Well, Elsa did set him up on that one.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah.
Obviously, she was. She played both sides, definitely.
She
Mhm.
did.
She did.
Mm-hmm.
And then she tried to flip back at the very end.
Yeah,
Man.
That's all she wanted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she was just about as, selfish in her quest than as anybody, really.
Mhm.
So, two sides of the same coin. Is that the right phrase?
You're correct.
Denholm Elliott plays Marcus Brody. We kind of already talked a little bit about him earlier. Kind of, I kind of had an issue with how dumb he came off, but also like we already kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
So, Marcus. That's what I
You okay over there?
You didn't drag Paul Marcus into this, did you?
I love.
And then just that scene, he's like, "The hell you will." He's got a 2-day head start. He
Yeah.
can just blend in, disappear. You'll never find him again.
Yeah.
With any luck, he's got the Grail already. Next scene, he's like in the bazaar, and he's like,
He's like,
"Does anybody here speak ancient Greek?"
Yeah, he's like in this suit, and everybody else is in like their, Egyptian garb, and he's there in like a 3-piece suit and a tie, and
Yep.
the whitest person there. Like he's just, it's so good.
That was such a good sequence.
I know, it was so good. Allison Duty played Elsa Schneider, the Jones girl, you would say in this movie, I guess.
yes.
The equivalent to a Bond girl, but she played a really interesting role in this movie. The funniest part I think she was in was where she was talking to Indiana about like their night together or whatever, but then Senior just thinks he's talking about their night together, and then
Yeah.
it's just like, oh God.
Yeah.
The moment you realize that, it's just like, oh, well.
Or even just at the the boat chase scene where she's like, he's like, "Are you crazy? Go between them." She's like, "Go between them? Are you crazy?"
Yeah, that boat scene's good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rat scene when they go into the library, also when they're looking for the shield to do the little etching on or whatever, like that's also a really good scene, and just being grossed out. Dude, that whole scene is so gross. Like, it's just rats, man. Rats.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Oh, rats. Yeah, they had that little nod to Raiders of the Lost Ark they changed the theme for like a few seconds.
Yeah.
The music theme, and then like she's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "The Ark of the Covenant." Are you sure? He's like, "Yeah, pretty sure."
Kevork Malakian played Kazim. Kazim. He's
Kaz, or some say Kazim. I'm gonna make the Bloodborne reference every time, just because that helps me say his name correctly.
He's kind of plays like the protector of the Grail secrets, right? And him and his group are the protectors of the Grail, and obviously his group helps.
What was their order called? I'm drawing a blank now.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I forget what it's called, but they have the I think the original Christian symbol. I forget. If one of you wants to look it up, I will.
I'm looking it up.
I will vamp for a little bit, but I think it's funny that Elsa her debut was a Bond film.
Ooh, really?
View to a Kill, a Timothy Dalton Bond flick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was she like the Bond?
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's a Roger Moore Bond flick. I apologize.
Ooh.
Yeah. Some people might say the most charismatic of the Bonds.
Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Cool.
He had a tattooed of the Cruciform Sword on his chest, and wore a fez, according to Wikipedia. So he did wear a fez. His mustache, though, also on point.
Dude, that looked for some reason, like for me, that looked like the fakest thing in this movie. Just like, wow, that was the realest, glued to his face.
That was the realest part of the whole movie.
Oh God, it's a good stash. That suit, by the way, he's wearing when they're like, when they're trading the Bentley for
the Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
the
Rolls Royce. Yeah, is like pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
the black pinstripe suit.
Oh yeah, he's wearing the shit out of it.
Yeah,
too.
he is, dude. Yep. And the red like boutonniere flower thing. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's a good look. I wish I could pull that off.
Me too.
I could barely pull off this hoodie. Okay.
I think you're doing all right. Also, I do like the fact that they Indiana and his father kind of just glaze over the fact that they are now Eskimo brothers.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what? I'm just like the next man. Yeah. I was the next man.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be a weird relationship to know that you had with your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Rhys Davies reprises his role as Sala. Just a great character. I love this guy.
I love Sala.
I love
Sala. Rules.
He's so good. I love it. Not really much else to say, but just wanted to point out that Sala made an appearance and it made me very happy. No singing though. No singing. No. River Phoenix played young Indiana Jones. So this is the scene I kind of want to talk about the most, actually, is like the beginning of this movie. Is really like, it's really fun, and it's a nice kind of like mini origin story, I guess. And I understand that they were probably prepping for young Indiana Jones, and they, this was kind of like the intro to that as well. But
yeah, it was a little bit after that the young Indiana Jones TV series did come out. I forget who the actor was.
Yeah.
But
well, I think they were planning on it being River Phoenix, but didn't he die before that point?
He died.
So
yeah, he died pretty shortly after this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that whole scene where, it's like a Boy Scout troop or whatever, and they're going, and him and the one kid kind of sneak off and spy on the treasure hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that whole scene where he kind of sneaks down there and, tries to get, who's at our house? Why is our garage door going up? It's almost 10 o'clock.
Can I say just like a little side note? I saw this movie in the theater, and when the movie first started, all these scenes were happening, and I think went to my mom to say, this is not Indiana Jones. This is a different movie. We're in the wrong theater. And my mom was adamant. She's like, no, this is the right theater. And I was like, but none of these, that's not Indiana Jones. But then all of a sudden, I think when they're looking over the cavern and the kid calls him Indy, I was like, oh, I get it. That's a little funny story to make fun of me for.
I mean, we didn't need that to continue making fun of you, Stoy, but,
That's just one more thing to add to the pile.
One more bullet.
Yep. Add it to the pile.
But yeah, I mean the whole like chase sequence on the train and everything. I always think like, what's that noise? Do you hear a noise? Is it just me?
I don't hear a noise.
Oh, I don't hear a noise.
It's done now. I don't know what it was, but it's over. I always like watching train fight scenes and stuff, like when they're climbing on top of the train and they fight each other. Like I know the Wolverine has a really cool fight scene where they're fighting on top of the train, and this is just like a cool scene where obviously Indy's running from these thieves. And by the way, I always thought those giraffes were fake, but after paying attention to this movie, like they're fake, but they're supposed to look like real giraffes, and it just really bothered me after I seen that. I was like, oh my gosh, they suck. But the scene where he like when the little walkway above the snakes breaks and he goes down in the water, and that big like fake looking snake, like I couldn't believe that that's like a real type of snake. It's just so scary. That thing is so scary.
An anaconda. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we find why he's so deathly afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
Because it's literally 2 back-to-back traumatic experiences that happened.
Yeah, but didn't he?
The first time he's just like, "What? It's just a snake."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a snake. He pulls it up, and yeah.
Yeah. And then that snake comes back to get the bad guy. So I guess he wins there. Also, when he whips himself in the face, I guess they had to say how Harrison Ford got the scar on his face.
Yeah.
So that's he whipped himself. Nice little touch there. I didn't think this was too much of an origin story. Sometimes, like, when they put origin stories in like some sort of beginning of the movie, it kind of like sometimes it sucks. I didn't think this was too much though.
No, I thought it was enough to kind of, showcase that his love for adventure even when he was young, which may have explained a little bit to why he left so early on, which is what we heard in a conversation on the blimp where, like, as Sean Connery said, you left just when you were becoming interesting. Like, he probably left at a very early on to go pursue studies, to go pursue adventure. And we saw obviously how important that was to him as a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
chasing after that treasure.
Yeah. Still saying it belongs in a museum that young. What a guy.
Yeah.
Guy. Also, his friend, like, obviously he's like supposed to be the comic relief of that opening part, and he just starts playing the trumpet when they get into his house, like right in their faces. It's like, guys.
Yeah, right.
Oh, the boat scene right after that too is pretty cool.
It belongs in a museum. So do you.
All right, so let's move on from there. Robert Edison plays the Grail Knight. That does a very adamant job at that. He's very believable as a 2,000-year-old man guarding the Grail. I like when he tries to pick up the sword to fight and he just kind of falls over. That's pretty funny.
That man hasn't moved for 2,000 years, so yeah, he's going to be a little sore.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times he's read through that book he was looking at.
The Bible? You think it's
was
the
that
Bible?
I don't even know. I
have
was
no
wondering
idea what it was.
how many. I don't know what book it was. I just want to know how many times he's read through it.
Probably a few thousand. Like, I mean, he could probably, like, if that's all he's doing all day, right? Like, he probably could read it in one day.
Yeah.
Maybe he takes
or
a
he's
break.
Going, man, I know this too well. And so, and it kind of begs the question, like, what else did he do other than just drink from the Holy Grail?
Somebody's got to arrange the cups somehow. Maybe he's like, I don't like how this is set up. I'm going to move them around. Like how you move furniture once in a while in your house to make your house feel fresh. Like,
I mean, who knows? Maybe Indiana Jones wasn't the first to discover that place.
Maybe.
True.
Maybe routinely, week after week, someone bumbles in there.
It's true.
And it's like, hey, what's going on here? And then
a lot of people just chose poorly.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe.
And then he has to clean up their dead ashes and, put the Grail, the fake Grail back and clean it.
The ashes back on the pile.
But moreover, I'm just asking, like, so did he leave? Because, like, he just said you couldn't take the Grail past the seal.
Yeah.
Like, my guess is he had to just get outside and take a walk. Like, what's the sun look like? Huh? Still hot in this desert.
I don't know. He looked pretty pasty.
Oh, I didn't say he stayed out there.
While,
I didn't say he stayed out there. But he had to just stretch his legs a little bit.
Yeah.
He might have been, aged from, time.
I mean, but
but
his delivery though is very good. You chose poorly. I like how he says it after he dies though.
Yeah.
It would have been cooler if he said it before he died. In that way,
like right into his face. Like,
yeah.
You chose poorly, you bastard.
He's like, as soon as it touches lips, he's like, haha, fucko, you gonna die.
You chose poorly, bitch. All of a sudden, he just turned straight hood. I like that castle was actually based off a real place. Like, that wasn't a prop.
Yeah.
At least the outside of it.
Yeah.
It was the Castle Petra in Jordan.
Mhm.
They literally built it into a wall. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Because when I first saw it, like I remember I saw the movie and I was like, "That's pretty cool." Like I thought it was a set, and then like I heard like it was a real place, and I was like, "That's even cooler."
Yeah.
Yeah. The puzzles inside were cool. And so like obviously there's like a big thing where like they sent a guy in and he gets decapitated like right away. And
Yeah.
Well, they sent multiple guys in because there were multiple bodies there.
yeah.
Yep. Only the penitent man will pass.
Yeah.
Penitent man kneels before God.
Yeah. And it was just really cool how like his dad, like he had to use the I guess we should probably talk about that too, where like his dad gets wounded, and might die if he doesn't go get the Grail, and that was like a big incentive of him to go get it, right? And so that was cool. Also, it kind of just looked like when he brought it out, he just poured peroxide on his dad's wound, and he was all better.
Oh, it did turn white. So
Yeah. And fizzy, lots of fizz.
Yeah.
Maybe some Sprite in there,
Well, I mean, it's the healing power of the Grail.
Yeah. So that was cool. Also, like the leap of faith part is like really. Every time I watch it, I'm like, man, that like you don't see it until after like he steps out onto it, but there's like a plank there that just looks like the rest of the rocks.
That's what I find so fascinating, because that's another thing I think about. Like, how did they keep that looking like the background the entire time? Because shit changes over time.
Yeah.
Like, especially over a long time. Like, how does that just stay camouflaged in the way that it does?
I mean, maybe the knight just goes out there and like scrubs it down, or paints it, or covers it with the ashes of the dead people who drank from
he
the
was doing
wrong
something
Grail.
else. He had other things to do.
I don't know if he did. He had to clean his boots. How did he take a shower? Like, how did he bathe himself?
pretty sure he didn't.
Yeah.
It was
Pretty sure
ripe
he
in there.
didn't. Yeah, it was pretty.
It was
pretty
ripe in
dank
that.
in there.
It was ripe in
Yeah.
that Grail chamber. It had
Just
to be.
saying.
Oh, God.
Just saying.
And then Matt, I think you added this one. Ernst Vogel or Stoy, did you add it? Who added
Stoy
it?
added it,
Stoy
yeah.
added it.
Yeah.
Ernst Vogel as Michael Byrne, who was the German.
Actually, I have it the other way around. That's my fault. It's Michael Burns, the actor.
That's what I said.
He plays Ernst Vogel. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll reverse it in post. It's fine.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
No, I won't.
Cool.
All right. That's fine. This is live.
So he's pretty much like the leader of the Nazis throughout this whole thing, and he's pretty intimidating, I would say, as like a general. Really, he's probably the least, I don't know, dumb, right? I mean, like some of these movies, the Nazis just feel like dumb idiots, right? That Indiana Jones just takes down, but he kind of felt like a formidable foe. Like my favorite scene that he's in, doesn't really revolve around him, but he's in it, is the boat scene where when Indy and his dad escape the castle and they run down and they start the boat and it drives away, but they're not in it, and so they're all trying to scramble to get in the boat to chase the other boat, and then the motorcycle shoots out. They shoot out of the box with the motorcycle. That seems pretty good. He's in it, and he tells him to go chase him down.
Or the time where he's looking for he's checking everybody's tickets and he finds Sean Connery.
Yeah.
No ticket.
No, and then Indiana Jones punches him, throws him out. He looks at everybody and he's like, "No ticket."
Yeah.
Everybody starts throwing up their tickets right
He's
afterwards.
like, shit, I have a ticket. Holy crap.
It's a
I
good
don't want to
scene.
get kicked out of this plane.
Yeah. It's a
So
good scene too.
It even popped up in what movie was that? Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. I think that popped up too. Where like I think Jay like knocked someone out, threw him off a train, and he's like, "No ticket." Anybody's ever seen that movie?
Why do you seem so down after you say
It was
that?
a good one. I don't know. It was a good movie. It really was.
Are there any moments in this movie that we didn't really talk about? The best moments. It's magic.
Colonel Vogel, throw down the gun or the girl will die. Professor Henry Jones, but she's one of them. Elsa, Indy, please. Indiana Jones, what? Professor Henry Jones, she's a Nazi. Yeah. Trust me. That whole scene where Elsa is hostage by Vogel. Oh, magic.
And he's like, I'll kill her. And Sean Connery's like, go ahead.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
And then it's punctuated, but you should have listened to your father.
Yeah. That was more the ultimate betrayal, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, more so than Donovan. Like, Donovan's just that rich white asshole that it's like, okay, I kind of figured you'd betray me. But like this woman who was like a student or like a kind of professor's assistant to, man, you didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like Sean Connery. He's like, Harrison Ford's like, how did you know she was a Nazi? And he was like,
she talks in her sleep. Yep.
Like, wow. You think like he would have been like told some like diabolical plan, like, well, she said some weird things, so I investigated her journals and this and that, and I followed her here and there. No, simple explanation. She talks in her sleep. All right.
It's disgraceful. You're old enough to be her grandfather.
Just shows the old man still got it. That's all.
Yeah, right. Sean Connery, man. Hey, he was James Bond.
Yeah.
She probably saw that. She was like, you were James Bond.
Yeah.
I'll never forget how wonderful it was. Both. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
One of the scenes that we didn't really talk about either was the book burning scene, where they're like where he dresses up like a Nazi and Adolf Hitler signs the journal.
Yeah.
Like a third grader, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so such an amazing scene where it's just like everything died down and it's completely quiet and it's like, oh shit, that's Hitler, and like he just signs it and just goes about his way. It's like, oh man.
That scene's good.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of where you saw the conflict in Elsa a little bit. Like, she really didn't believe what she was doing, but it was like kind of like the means to an end where, you kind of, put yourself in the same pot with people that you think that is going to get you there, even though you may not fully agree with what they're doing or what they're about. So like, obviously that she's a student of history, like, and to witness a book burning sequence, like, obviously you saw like the pain in her eyes and she had to walk away from it.
Yeah. So. Also like her being German, right? Like maybe she didn't really believe
she's Austrian.
Yeah, she was Austrian. Yeah.
Well, either way, like I feel like maybe she felt like she had to be a part of the Nazi regime, even though she didn't believe it also. And like
a lot of people were like that back then.
Yeah. So maybe like there was a lot of conflict that way within her too, even though like she felt like she had to do that and betray the Joneses, right? But maybe she didn't really want to. Maybe she was threatened in another way, or I don't know. I mean, there's the scene where she like says you should have listened to your father. That's pretty like, oh, she's a Nazi. But like also like you said, Stoy, there's a lot of conflict throughout the movie with her beliefs. So
yeah.
And then she dies.
Yeah.
Falls into the pit.
Well, people get their comeuppance. I mean, that's technically the definition of karma, is when you get your just desserts in the afterlife, so to speak. So like obviously her quest resulted in her death.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, is there anything we don't like about this movie?
I have one thing.
Hit me with it.
Cosm, or some say Cos, protector of the Grail, decides to incinerate one of the markers.
I mean, he had to do what he had to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That's like the one inconsistency, because if you were like set to protect, wouldn't you try? I mean, even if you like went into this knight's gravesite, took the shield, and just like that's your protection, so no one will find it. Just take it away. Yet no, the minute someone gets close, you're gonna be like, well, I guess I gotta burn everything to the fucking ground. It's like,
yeah, even if you know they already have it too, like, what's the point at
Yeah.
that point? You know?
yeah, it's just like they found it. Like this is where you interject and say, yo, because clearly you had a bunch of guns and you could go in tight quarters. Maybe Kazan just had a problem with rats. Understandable. Maybe he didn't want to get the petroleum all over that suit he was wearing in Venice.
Venice. Would you?
I mean,
I wouldn't want to get anything on there.
If I'm set to protect the Holy Grail, I'll get a new suit.
Man,
So,
I don't know. I don't know if you know how crisp that suit was, man.
I don't.
It was a very nice suit.
I'd have been like, the
was.
Holy Grail or these shoes? Nah, I'm burning this place down.
This shoe
I just
maker
like
died. I'm never going to be able to replace him.
I just love all the times. I just love all the times he would say, Venice. Like at least 3 or 4 times or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the one inconsistent thing that I wish I had. In same with that scene, he's like, I found a way out. Deep breath, and then all of a sudden they end up like coming out of a sewer. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, how?
Where did the fire go?
Yeah, like what did you find that you were able to just dive down into? Like, just I don't know. Like,
I'm pretty
I
sure.
wish I knew how.
I'm pretty sure if you're submerging into petroleum and you open your eyes, you probably end up blind at that point.
Yeah, I would imagine that probably wasn't burn the eyes pretty well, but it's not like you can see very well underwater, even if you open your eyes.
Yeah, even
Anyway, but-
even in normal water.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one to forgive, kind of a little bit of stretches of the imagination when it comes to movies.
Sure.
But that one, I remember even at the time when I was a kid, I was like, that was the part that just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean,
well.
I'm past it.
Yeah.
It's just a movie.
All right. So we need to rank this, right? We need to rank this. But before we rank, okay, we need to talk about Henry Jones Sr. and Marcus's secret handshake in the tank.
Oh yeah. What is like? That is that is
How did it go? How did it go? It's like.
I don't know. They did some kind of like weird
about
bird
the
dance.
restoration or
Yeah.
whatever. Like just.
Oh, God. I was like, this is like, God, they're like children in this tank.
Yeah.
Genius of the restoration. I don't know, something like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
It was funny. I liked it. I know it's kind of corny or whatever, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely two academics that completely forget where the fuck they are at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're here to rescue you, and then all of a sudden the Germans are coming back into the tank. Like, well, guess not.
All right, it's time to rank The Last Crusade.
So, okay, they say genius of the restoration, and then Marcus responds with aid in our resuscitation. That's literally the first time in my life I've actually known. I know what they say now.
Now it's just gonna be stuck in your head forever now.
Yeah, genius of the restoration. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
Exactly.
I don't know if they know what that means. They probably
I don't think they do.
got
Yeah,
drunk
I really
and
don't.
just
It's
made it
probably
up one
some
night.
real big inside joke that they don't even know how it came from,
Yeah.
where it came from.
maybe they're friends. Maybe they were friends in real life, and that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. All right, guys, let's rank this movie.
Yeah.
So our current standings right now is Temple of Doom at number 2 and Raiders of the Lost Ark at number 1. I think we can all agree this is better than Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Are we going to put this above Raiders? Now, don't take into quality. Don't take into... Obviously, Raiders has some pacing. It's better paced and has, better. It's better. But this is our favorite. This is our ranking list. Do we want to put it?
If we're, I'll throw my sword on the table here. It's my favorite. It may not be the actual best, but it's my favorite. So
yeah, this is.
I'm willing to put it above Raiders.
I personally am also willing to put it above Raiders, but I will also listen to the other side.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that the majority of people that I know that love the Indiana Jones movies always put Last Crusade first, being the best one. And in some cases, I'll agree with them because it's funny, it's adventurous, it takes them to some crazy exotic locations. Mm-hmm. I mean, the action is great, the pacing is great, all the characters, everybody's greatly, well casted. But I still put Raiders first, just because of, for me, we really got to. I mean, it was such, to me, Raiders is the origin story of who he was and kind of stumbling on his way as becoming a great adventurer. And then we see in Last Crusade where we see him in his prime, so to speak, where he's like, yeah, I'm the man. I know what I'm doing here. So Raiders first for me. This is like 1.5.
I think the only way I would try and poke holes in not like that. I mean, I've said this before. I said this early in the show. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best film in this series. In terms of I would say that this is more of an origin story than Raiders. And we saw that Temple of Doom is a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
And here we get Indiana Jones at I forget when this takes place. I forget when.
1938.
So it's after Raiders and Temple of Doom. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably him at his smartest, most wily in terms of being an adventurer. I do like the fact that he opens the movie saying 70% of archaeology is done in the library.
Yep.
And X never marks a spot, but X marks the fucking spot in this one. But that would be the only counter I would do that, but also this is friggin' subjective. So I would say, do we want to do what we want, or do we want to go with the tide of humanity on this one? Because I feel like the tide of humanity will hold up Raiders and Temple of Doom before Last Crusade.
Really? Temple of Doom?
I think the tide will overwhelmingly say Last Crusade isn't the best.
Pardon me?
I would think that the tide would say Last Crusade is the best.
Oh, I think I would disagree. Just in all of the long form crit I've read just about movies, many mention Raiders of the Lost Ark as one of the greatest action films ever made, and a lot of film heads that I've been friends with and in conversations with, they're like, yeah, Temple of Doom, why do you like Last Crusade so much? That one's fucking dumb. But
I don't understand why people don't like Last Crusade. That's I know we're kind of going backwards on this right now, but I don't understand that sentiment. I think it's fun. To me, I think Temple of Doom is by far the worst one. Out of all of them.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think, do we want to go by the majority, or do we want to go?
Well, I think now's
Raiders?
the point where we have to sit here and ask, do we really want to go with our favorite, or do we want to go with which movie is the best? I don't care what everybody else thinks.
Well, that's subjective. I mean, at this point, it's our own individual preferences, and if we go with the status quo of what everybody else says, what's the point in having this podcast if we're ranking?
Right.
We should be ranking them according to our own personal tastes.
But I think we all kind of agree that Raiders is still the best movie, even though this one, Matt and I, this is our favorite one, right? Mm-hmm. I mean,
well, then we go with Last Crusade. Majority rules, right? Last Crusade number 1, Raiders 2, and so far Temple 3.
Okay, then that's where that's what we'll have it.
I'll concede. I mean, I'm not gonna argue.
No,
Obviously,
I expected this to go longer
that.
because last night with Thor we had a really long conversation on where Thor should sit, and I said it should be in the toilet in the hallway.
Is that the first one? I
Yeah.
thought Dark World was like the worst one.
Dude, I haven't seen Dark World since it came out. I don't remember a single thing about it. I just know
you don't have to see it.
Well, we do because we're doing MCU
No,
and
you
review.
don't. Nope, you don't have to. You could skip that one.
So all right then. Well, Last Crusade.
I mean, that's
sits at the top.
like I said, that's how I've always thought about like movies and video games, and just to me, I can acknowledge both sides of the argument.
Sure.
Mhm.
Like I could acknowledge that there's some people that think Temple of Doom is the better paced action movie, and we got to see a darker side of Indiana Jones as opposed to Raiders and Last Crusade. We saw the very selfish and arrogant side of Indiana Jones in Temple of Doom, which was a character trait that none of us have ever seen before. But we also get to see the kind of like more charismatic James Bondish style in Last Crusade. But, so it's like, I guess it's all up to personal interpretation, and I'm not going to knock anybody for their own personal beliefs on.
No.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So-
I mean,
That's why I won't fight
I'm no
anybody
longer
on.
an insufferable 15-year-old.
Yeah, that's why I won't fight anybody on this. If it's one of those things that if we could reach a consensus and a good consensus that Last Crusade is better, Last Crusade number 1, Raiders 2, Temple of Doom 3.
Cool.
I have a feeling I'm going to fight you, Corey, on Temple of Doom and Crystal Skull, though. Sounds like it.
I mean, that's fair.
Sounds like it.
That's fair. So to be fair, I haven't watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in probably like 5 years. I think we talked about it some on Nerds Gone Rogue at one point, Matt. But
yeah, we did. Yeah.
I just remember thinking it was totally watchable and like really enjoying my time with it. So the one thing that bothered me a little bit was like Shia LaBeouf always combing his hair in like every scene. But like, I mean,
that was the 50s.
Yeah.
Fucking Kaneki from Greece over here.
Actually, the whole Jeep sequence in the woods, in the jungle.
Yeah.
That was.
So before we talk about getting out of here and prepping for Crystal Skull, I want to gauge the room here on something. I've never watched
Aliens.
I've never watched the Young Indiana Jones stuff.
I watched.
Are we interested?
I watched part of it, but only because like it was on Netflix for a little bit, but it was only like a couple episodes per season. And so like I've watched some of it and it was fine. But
I haven't watched it since I was a kid.
Yeah, like I don't really remember a lot of it, to be honest. So, I mean, it's something we could talk about. I mean, we could do it theoretically if we want, but I don't know.
Is that what you were trying to gauge, Matt?
Yeah, because I'm actually interested. The person who plays young Indiana Jones in terms of like the River Phoenix role is Sean Patrick Flannery.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Boondock Saints?
From Boondock Saints.
Oh.
The less famous one from Boondock Saints. And I was just looking at it. I think the only problem we'd have is tracking it down. Because it doesn't look... I mean, I don't have Paramount Plus or Apple TV. And there's one season streaming on both of those services. But we might have to talk in terms of the way Abnormal Mapping describes it, Yahoo Anime rules. And I'm not going to go into any further details than that.
Well, I mean, if it's hard, like I think maybe like we just do some research over the next couple of weeks and see if it's easy to track down, and if it's not, then we just skip it, right?
I mean, I think in terms of sanity's sake, I would propose we do that after Crystal Skull. That way, if we only get like a couple episodes in and we're just like, nope, fuck this.
Yeah.
we can nope out of it real easy.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And then just wait till IJV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, the guy who plays old Indiana Jones has an eye patch. So I just want to point that out.
I mean, eventually that had to happen. Someone had to take one of Indiana Jones's eyes. We all knew that was going to happen.
You think that happens in Indiana Jones 5? You think he gets stabbed in the eye and has to wear an eye
That'd be
patch?
cool if it does. I mean, there are references to the young Indiana Jones stuff in Crystal Skull. I do know that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll explore this. There's a lot of people in this show, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Listed in the cast. Yeah. There's Christopher Lee is in the cast. Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
Daniel
Solid
Craig.
cast.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. Like, there's a lot of people in here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Standard Definition. We have one more movie left, and maybe Young Indiana Jones. We'll see. But one movie for sure. Matt, Stoy, I appreciate your time tonight. Stoy, where can we find you?
You can find me on the EXP Cast. We're a video game podcast, part of the Boss Rush Network. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EXP Cast. And my personal Instagram and Twitter handle at Stoy, MKE8.
Matt?
You can find me everywhere I want to be at infinite_rewind. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, various video game platforms, and others. You can also find me co-hosting 3 podcasts. One about video games called Story Route Zero that happens every week. One about music where my friend Caroline and I make 8-song playlists to get us from a negative headspace to a positive one. You can find that. That's called Trivial Merit. It's at Trivial Merit on Twitter, and that comes out every 2 weeks. Also, I have my own little movie show where my buddy Jesse and I talk about films we're watching. We pick one to sort of go over and highlight. The one that's about to come out is My Neighbor Totoro, also a Ghibli film that people should see. And we are actually about to record an episode on The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That's called Free-Reeling It. That comes out every 2 weeks. Also, just to throw it out there, my co-host on that one does have a Patreon as well. It's called Why Comics, and he and a mutual friend of ours, Hana, every week talk about comics in very great and fun ways. So look for Why Comics. It's fun.
Cool. You can find me at IamCoreyHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast every Wednesday, as well as various other things here on the Boss Rush Network. Check out all of our content on bossrush.net. If you listen on iTunes or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. Remember, you can get the show 2 weeks early if you go to our Patreon, patreon.com/bossrush network for just $1. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
I appreciate you. I don't really love you. That seems kind of weird, especially since I don't know you.
I love you.
Coward. I love you.
I don't just open my heart to anybody, man, okay?